Hey guys, thanks for hopping on to Hack That Funnel Radio. Happy that you're here. So in today's episode, we're talking about why webinars really are where a lot of us should be starting. Like, you can have all sorts of strategy conversations about, you should start with this, you should start with this, you should do this. Look, webinars really are a good way to start. And the reason that they're being pushed in that manner is because you're able to put in $1 and make out $3 easier in that system than you would almost in any other, unless you're selling something that's super high ticket. Now, this kind of a webinar isn't for everybody. So we're going to talk about how you monetize this webinar if you are high ticket or if you're local, or if you have a digital product or a course or coaching, how you can make this work for you as well. But first, let me know that you like this video. Give it a little like, give me a thumbs up, and then subscribe, ring the little bell so that way you get notifications every time we have new videos come out. And we have an interview with a guy coming up who's made over $10 million with a funnel. So you'll want to hit that bell.
I have spent the last 5 years building hundreds of marketing funnels and systems for over 100 clients, and I can tell you, most of you are skipping the most important part of the funnel build. There is a secret step-by-step blueprint that makes every sales funnel profitable. What is it? That is the question, and this podcast is the answer. My name is Ben Moote, and this is Hack That Funnel Radio.
To webinar or not to webinar? What do you actually do, and should you have a webinar? That is the question that a lot of people ask. Everyone pushes, you should have a webinar. Russell Brunson pushes it heavily. Larsen just offered his product Offer Lab as a system that helps build out your presentation funnel, aka your webinar funnel. So why the webinar, really? And should it be for everybody? So there are a couple pieces into bringing this together that you need to understand. Number one, there's a strategy around building a webinar that helps you craft an offer and a message that sells that you don't usually do with any other type of funnel, but that you should be doing with everything you sell ever, period. And so that webinar framework, that script, really becomes the powerful thing that you use in every single funnel, no matter what you do. I highly recommend, if you haven't heard of the perfect webinar script, go check it out. It's taught in Russell Brunson's most recent book, Expert Secrets. He has a new one coming out here soon, so you want to catch up. Make sure you get Expert Secrets. Talks about it in depth. Oh, and by the way, your webinar does not have to be a full-on webinar. This framework and this script literally makes it possible for you to make this webinar as short as you want. You can make it a 5-minute webinar and just hit the main points. That's powerful. It's literally just a sales script now. And a sales script you can use and should be using in everything. So look into that. So number one, it teaches the basic strategy, how you actually create your offer and all that pieces in order to make sure that you, and sales presentation, to make sure that it actually works correctly. That's key, that's helpful. But really what webinar does is it educates. Now, an educational bridge, educating a customer on something, isn't always necessary. It is important when you have a product that's a little more expensive, say the $500 range up. That becomes much more important to have a webinar, because with the high ticket, people want value. And with a webinar, you can provide value up front. You can teach, you can educate. And usually that teaching and education, when you do it right, pre-sells what you're selling at the end of the webinar, which is beautiful. So yes, a webinar can work, but is it for everybody? Even if you have a product that's over $500, can be. The webinar, as everybody thinks about it, is a PowerPoint presentation where you're literally talking to people, you're hitting your keyboard as you go through each piece, right? That's what normally people think about the webinar, but it doesn't have to be that. You can do the webinar with a video camera. You can do that kind of a presentation. That's why the script and the framework is so powerful, because you can use it in multiple places. So you can do your presentation either with the PowerPoint presentation, or you can do it with your face. What you really need to decide is, what is the goal of this webinar? If you're here to teach some type of coaching, really your goal is to make them attached to you, so that you want them to see your face. You want them to know who you are, what you do, what you sound like when you talk, the funny expressions you make. You need that connection, and that connection sells you. While at the same time, everything you're teaching and showing educates them on the fact that you actually understand this space. So in that case, you kind of want to do a webinar with your face. makes more sense. Kind of helps when you have a whiteboard or a paper to draw everything out with. But that's one option for the coaching space. You don't need it, but it helps. Now, after you do the webinar, there are a couple different pages that come after. Usually it's a sales page or an order page. Why would you need a sales page? A sales page becomes important if you want to provide this sales page outside of the webinar. So if you look at Kevin David, if you look at Spencer Meekum, if you look at a couple of big players in the webinar space who are making business work, then look at what they're doing. They're sending people through a webinar. But if you go to their website, you can also just click directly into the webinar sales page and buy directly. They don't put up barriers for people to buy. Don't put barriers up for people to buy if you just need money. Now, if you're trying to get the right audience, and so you want to make sure that they've gone through, that you're aligned 100% and you only want to take care of a certain person, yes, go ahead and make sure that there's one specific funnel, one specific way for people to move through in order to make that work. That's your choice. So I have this friend. This friend has this product that he's been selling for a long time in the affiliate space. He's made $1 million. You've probably heard him actually on this podcast before. And we built out his webinar funnel. And he hadn't done a webinar before. He wasn't really going to be super perfect. It wasn't going to follow the script 100%, but he had a huge following. And so he was like, you know what? I need to take this product that I have. I'm going to upgrade it. And then not just upgrade it, I'm going to make it more expensive, and we're going to sell this thing on a webinar. I did a fun little launch too. It was September 5th, and so we did a break your 9 to 5 day. So 9 to 5, he taught you how to break your 9 to 5 job with affiliate marketing with his product. It's really clever. You got to have that kind of hook. It was really, really cool. So we built this webinar, and he had a really good idea of what he wanted. So he drafted the webinar himself, and I created the funnel that would make everything possible and everything work. Now in his funnel, he really wanted to have a sales page. A lot of you don't need a sales page. What you do need is a really good registration page, a thank you page, an order page, and then what comes after the order page. That's usually it. That's what most of you need. He wanted a sales page added in kind of in the middle of that, and so that's what we did. We built out that sales page as well, which looked pretty cool when you ask me. So he launched it, and he made 6 figures pretty easily with the launch. He did really, really well, and he keeps it going. He actually has somebody promoting it for him right now, so he doesn't have to touch it. He just makes the commission off it that he wants, and it runs on its own. He's loving life. But that's why some people have a sales page. Now, after the sales page usually comes an order page. So you have your webinar registration, a thank you, you have your presentation, and then the next page that you have is your sales page for some people. If you don't have a sales page, the question becomes order form or application. This becomes the conundrum because a lot of people want to be able to have a one-on-one conversation to make sure their product is right for the customer. That should only happen, number one, if you're just starting. You want to make sure that you get all the pieces right so that way next time you do the presentation, you hit all the issues that they talked about afterwards. You want to make sure your presentation gets rid of those. That way they want to buy right away. You want to put the order page right away. That's the goal. But if you're trying to sell something $500 to $2,000 and you need to be able to sell it automated, just do the order page. Works fine if you've hit all the pieces of the webinar right. Now, if you're selling something that's $2,000 and above, or if you're a local business, I highly recommend you do the following. Put an application at the end of the webinar. This application makes sure that you only get people who are actually interested and ready to work with you. You literally raise the bar and say, kink, I only work with you if you're willing to go over this bar. For some reason, the Olympics comes to mind when I'm thinking of a bar that you gotta jump over. I don't know why. But you put up this bar and they need to get over this bar in order to reach you. Now you can put that application or a calendar link. Okay, but the calendar link should come next, where you say, all right, congratulations, you've applied. You can say, congratulations, you've applied, we're gonna review that. Or you can say, congratulations, you've applied, you work, schedule an appointment. Okay, and then you start to have the sales call. Okay, that's an option for you. Application isn't necessary, but if you want to be super exclusive, totally an option. So if you're a local business doing some type of a webinar or presentation that helps customers is a good idea, but make sure that you have a calendar appointment afterwards because that's your goal, is to fill up your calendar as fast as possible, honestly. So guys, I know we've touched a lot of different base points. I've had customers who have built out the course. We've had customers that we've built out like kind of a local business where they have built out a webinar and that webinar sends to a calendar page, however you want to say that. Page is probably correct. But guys, that's the webinar. That's how you want to run it. Now, I've had clients in every single phase. I've had clients do the physical products. I've had clients do the courses. I've had clients who have done schedule an appointment. I've had clients that want an application. And to be absolutely honest, if you don't know what kind of funnel you should be using or what kind of pages you should use after your webinar, go and hack your industry. See what's working already and do that. Don't do anything different. The whole goal of a webinar is to educate, so that way you can charge a higher price. That's the whole point. And if you want to do it right, I highly recommend you follow the Expert Secrets process in doing so. I hope this has been helpful for you. If you liked this at all, what I want you to do is go down below and leave me a comment. Tell me what the biggest aha was, or holy cow, Ben, you didn't even touch this, and you kind of needed to talk about that. Let me know down below, literally comment and tell me what to do next. And then if you have other questions and you want to submit your voice, what you can do is go to www.hackthatfunnelradio.com. You scroll all the way to the bottom, you're able to submit a question. I can help answer it.
Was that cool or was that cool? I want to offer something really, really special here. Do you have a question? Do you have a thought? Is there something that's been looming on your mind and you just want to get an answer? Well, check this out. If you can go to hackthatfunnelradio.com, scroll to the very bottom, you will be able to send me a direct voice message asking your question. And if I can, I will put it on the podcast. I'll literally put your voice on the podcast and I will answer your question directly. That sound good? All you have to do is go to hackthatfunnelradio.com, scroll to the bottom, record your question, and I will get back to you.